course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president.
Megyn Kelly is not having it with the once famous Bill Maher, who is currently in complete disarray for attempting to support the Democrats. Megyn really destroyed him on their most recent podcast, criticizing him for siding with the opposition and providing cover for a party that has been collapsing under its own weight. She didn't mince words, and Bill Maher was obviously unprepared for this kind of reality check. I promise you won't want to miss this video.
Important, maybe as important is what we're doing to our children with this trans insanity. I mean, this is almost my single issue. We are chopping off the healthy body parts of young children without, 100% we are doing that.
Well, we are definitely doing that.
Without any inquisition.
That's what it is. So
into
I don't
what's
know what
happening.
the oohing is.
I don't either. Pay attention, because I'm about to give you a truth bomb. Kids who are suffering from bullying, or who have been sexually assaulted, or who are going through normal puberty and feel uncomfortable in their bodies, will say to their parents, I'm not sure, maybe I'm gender confused. They will send them into a psychiatrist or psychologist. We're told by our organizations, the American Psychiatry Association, and all the others that run their licensing, you must affirm. Affirm is the only standard. And so the child gets told, you're right, you are secretly a boy, or vice versa. And the child gets put on puberty blockers and to cross-sex hormones, which sterilize the child and deprive the child of any chance of sexual pleasure for the rest of his or her life. We're talking about 9, 10, 11-year-olds who cannot give informed consent. Then they have body parts chopped off by a medical establishment and by parents who mean well but believe in these doctors, and they shouldn't. And when they inevitably get past the awkwardness of puberty or what have you, and they want to turn around and detransition, those who love bomb them on Reddit saying, come on in, the water's fine, abandon them. They are depressed. They have changed their bodies forever in a way that is irreversible. And we are all sitting back saying, it's a remote issue, as Kamala Harris said. It's not remote. It's the issue of our time, both with respect to children and...
Furthermore, the awakened Democrats are unable to acknowledge this fact, since doing so would require them to acknowledge that everything they have created is false. And perhaps some parents are still unaware of what's happening, but this is precisely what they're doing in the background. Believe me, none of the Wookiees care about the impact it has on actual people. Their only concern is avoiding the upcoming election, and they will stop at nothing to achieve this.
We recognize 3 very basic truths. First, that biology is real, it is immutable, it is not subject to the whims of any individual or government or medical organization. Men are men, women are women. That's all there is to it. You cannot change a person's biological identity, you cannot change their sex, and you should not try. Second, that the most essential and fundamental duty of any society is to protect their children. A country that cannot or will not protect its children is a country that deserves to die and will. Children are innocent and helpless. They know very little about themselves, very little about the world around them. They rely on us for clarity and guidance and protection. They trust us, the adults, implicitly. So when they're confused and scared, they look to us to be the ones who light the way and lead them down the right and safe path. It is our moral obligation to be the source of wisdom and security that they need and that they deserve.
Instead, we were perilously close to giving these individuals the ability to utterly destroy our children and society. And to be honest, I find it incomprehensible that any parent would be content to watch their children grow up completely confused and hardly aware of who they are due to agendas being imposed on them. Just take a moment to consider the alternative viewpoint that Bill Maher is going to present.
Who are...
Yeah.
Okay, so you understand.
I mean, I have some in my family. I have nothing against people who actually have gender dysphoria,
right,
and are sincerely wrestling with that, and I would respect them and be kind to them, and as I have been. This is a different issue. This is about children, and then it's about women's spaces and sports.
And that there is so much fluidity in childhood. And I mean, I was insane when I was a child. I remember it. I hated everything about my life going to high school. I was depressed all the time. I was beaten up and worried about ostracism and a million other things. I don't know what would have happened if someone said, the answer to your problem is that you're really not a boy, or whatever it is.
That you need to have body
it just seemed to do something so permanent when, at a time when things are in such flux, that we are letting the ideology and the politics get ahead of good science, which is ironic. It's easy to follow the science people.
Yeah.
So I understand that. But again, this is more important to you than...
It is compared to so-called fascism by woke people. This is precisely how they defy reason by contrasting abstract political phrases with actual society issues as if they were from two whole different universes. However, observe how Megyn Kelly systematically undermined Bill Maher's defense of Biden until he was forced to concede. It was long overdue and brutally honest.
I'm not saying you don't have a point. I'm just saying it's hard for people to understand why that, which is not democracy, that's the border issue. And you're right, they fucked it up. That, with like the things he's been saying, and all the people in his administration who said he's a fascist, he wants to be a fascist, he talks like a fascist, his friends are all dictators.
I don't care about that at all. Not at all.
Because?
January 6th was not good.
Wait, why don't you care about that at all?
Because they've been saying that about Trump for years. They've been saying that about Republican candidates for years. It has like a long storied history. If you are at all center or center right, you are used to having your candidate of choice completely demonized, whether it's the F word, the R word, the misogynist word. They tried to tell us Mitt Romney was a raging sexist because of binders full of women. They tried to tell us John McCain was a raging racist, notwithstanding the fact that he had adopted a daughter from Bangladesh. They've been doing this for every Republican. They get to Trump, and we no longer are listening to them. Trump has incendiary rhetoric, there's no question, but we have 4 years to judge him by, and the country was going pretty well when Trump was in there, unlike the 4 years we've had under these two.
Well, I mean, I could argue with that too. Actually, if Trump had this economy, and I could go through all the stats, the stock market is through the roof, wages are up.
Not as high as it was under Trump.
Well, first of all, Trump inherited somebody else's economy.
That's what Barack Obama would like us to.
Well, it's true.
Okay.
It's really on day one, everything changed.
So just walk me through it. So Trump has Obama to thank for his economy, but Biden can't thank Trump for anything.
Okay. Let's get off this. Because it's not what I really want to get to.
And as is always the case, if you ask any lefty this straightforward question, they will most likely have a complete breakdown. It's amazing how deeply they despise Trump. Policy is no longer even relevant. It's just emotion, mindless anger, and no reason. You must question what specifically he broke into them to cause them to become that fixated.
Dictator countries. There's a very World War II feeling here when the dictator countries are getting together. I mean, in World War II, what did Hitler and the Japanese have in common? Nothing, except they saw the world one way, fascism. They all have to do it in their different way. Iran is a fascist country in their own way. So is China, so is Russia. Saudi Arabia, you could say also. Somehow, the world seems to be dividing between the good guy countries, the democratic countries, and these autocracies. And if your guy gets in, we're going to be on the wrong side of this one.
Okay. If my guy gets in, I think we'll go back to the time that we had when he was president, which is the only time we didn't start a war and get involved in a war. Did Putin?
That's not true.
Did Putin?
Jimmy Carter never fired a shot.
Putin did not invade Ukraine until Biden took over. We had the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, which projected weakness through the world. People understood that we were enfeebled, and that is what was provocative. Weakness is provocative.
I feel like
Trump destabilized these people. They didn't know what to expect of him. Next thing you know, he's bombing Soleimani. Trump did strategic strikes that had people on their heels. They didn't know what he might do to them. And we did not have Putin invade
It's what he might do to us that I'm a little more worried. I feel like
we've had 4 years of Trump. We've had 4 years of Trump. Yeah. Trump did not go after his political enemies with the Department of Justice. Right. That was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Well, we had Hitler in the 30s and things were okay, and then we had Hitler in the 40s and they got way worse.
Oh,
just because we had him.
He hid his Hitlerism the first 4 years, and it's going to come out in full force.
He tried to do things like that. He tried to do dictatorial fascist things, and he was stopped.
Joe Biden has flouted the law when it comes to these student loan giveaway programs. He's flouted the law. Supreme Court opinions that told him he didn't have the right to do it, and he openly said, "I will get around the Supreme Court." He did it with respect to rent abatement programs, the same exact thing. And then he and Kamala Harris unleashed this Department of Justice against their political enemy, Donald Trump, their #1 chief rival for the presidency.
Okay, well.
This is hilarious. Are these people really acting as though none of this is true? Let's not forget that they were the ones who were always yelling about how dangerous Donald Trump was, even though Joe Biden was the one who ended up ruining the economy and bringing the nation to ruin. And just think of how much worse things would get if Kamala Harris ever got control. Much worse.
Won't be denialism if Kamala Harris loses too.
It won't be the same.
Okay, but there's going to be. I mean, they're already laying the foundation for lawfare. We're going to be stuck in this election one way or the other, no matter who wins, for weeks.
Well, there's no evidence of that. Democrats have never done that. They've conceded.
We already had this fight on my show. Hillary Clinton is the original election denier. Stacey Abrams. Yes, she is.
It's different. Come on, man. It's different between grumbling. Yes, they grumble and they shouldn't, and maybe it goes over the line. It's different between grumbling about something and actually trying to overturn it like he did. I mean, you know this. Why do we have to go through this?
That's time, you know. You're allowed to file legal challenges in response to an election, which is what Trump did, and he lost, and he did wind up leaving office. I'm not going to defend his behavior on January 6th. I never have, and I'm not going to start tonight. But if you don't think there's going to be denialism on the Dem side, you haven't been paying attention to what's been happening on that side for these years.
And that's precisely why I adore Megyn Kelly. Her use of facts breaks through denial. The left completely denied it as if it had never happened after Kamala Harris lost all credibility. But Megyn wouldn't have it that way. Watch this video to see how she totally persuades Bill Maher by displaying real footage of Hillary Clinton discussing a rigged election in the exact same lines. She made it obvious that there is no denying the hypocrisy.
Is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, well, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president.
Okay, I mean, she conceded the election. Whether you're interpreting her disappointment at losing it as the same thing as Trump not conceding it, I don't know that's where you're getting it from. But again, it's a tremendous false equivalency. You could ask Hillary Clinton right now who won that election. She will tell you. Donald Trump won the election.
Now she knows she has to because of what Trump has done.
She came out that night in her dark purple suit and conceded the election.
Correct. And then spent the next 4 years trying to convince us it was not legitimate.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
This video exhibits an unprecedented degree of denial. Rather than genuinely pausing to consider why they are losing, they are repeating the same thing while yelling that a convicted felon could be president. They find it simpler to point the finger at Trump than to own up to their mistakes, duplicity, and utterly flawed message. Additionally, it becomes more evident to everyone observing the more they deflect.
You get two choices.
That's right.
You get Donald Trump, a criminal election denier who is going to transform this country into an authoritarian place like we've never seen before, or you get Joe Biden with all his flaws.
Also a criminal.
Okay, what is his crime again?
The special counsel Robert Hur said he committed felonies, but he wouldn't indict him because he was a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. He couldn't get a conviction in front of a jury.
And what was that crime? That was the
classified documents. All over his basement, his garage, everywhere.
Well, okay, here's the difference. Immediately, Biden, he shouldn't have had them. Immediately, he said, oh, sorry, my bad, and gave them back.
That's why he didn't get charged with obstruction. But Trump has two classified documents, pieces to his case. One is you had them, and the second is you obstructed justice when we demanded them back. So, okay, against Biden, you don't get charged with obstruction. But number one, where's the classified documents charge against him? He's also a felon.
You got your story. You know, I look.
Why can't the difference be one actually had the ability to declassify documents and keep them because he'd been the president, and one didn't
Yes,
because
with
he
his
should have been
mind.
looking at documents only in a skiff while a sitting U.S. senator, and clearly he stole classified documents that he wasn't entitled to and never had the ability to declassify them.
Yeah. Maybe you know more about that than I do. I don't remember that part of it, and I always don't trust anything I hear until I vet it from the other side, because everybody sort of has their one-sided view of it, and narrative is more important than truth. I know this is the right-wing narrative.
I'm not like that, Bill. I care about facts. I practiced law for 10 years. I want to get the cases right more than I want to get clicks. And I have a lot of lefties who watch me. So I'm not like that. All I can tell you is those are the facts. Hillary.
And everyone is aware of the woke Democrats' dislike facts. People are waking awake, but they would prefer to ignore the facts and hope no one notices. We appreciate your time, and please remember to like and subscribe to our video. Share your opinions in the space provided for comments. We're interested in hearing what you